And today, hi everybody, I'm Mr. Latimer.
And I'm Mr. Scoggins.
And today we will learn about skills 5.6 and 5.7. You will be able to explain how economic forces influence agricultural practices.
That's right.
We are not going to watch that video. That's ridiculous.
What?
Why have a video in a video? That's ridiculous.
I don't know.
Okay. Next slide, please.
All right.
There we go. That's a map of America. All right. Skill 5.6, agricultural production regions. Types of farming. First, you have subsistence agriculture, which means farming to feed yourself or your family. This is normally found in poor countries with small farms.
And the commercial farm, or the commercial agriculture, is farming with the goal of selling your crops for money. This is normally found in rich countries with large farms using machines and other technology.
Yes. So, Dr. Scoggins, based on these pictures, which one would you say is commercial?
I'm going to go with the one on the right.
I think you're absolutely correct about that.
Okay.
All right. Core or periphery. So, the guys, when we can break the world down, we can do it dividing the world into two basic camps. You have the core regions, or the more developed. You might see it written as MDC, meaning more developed countries. A small percentage of the population is involved in agriculture in these countries. For example, less than 2% of Americans are farmers. That's because we're a more developed country.
And of course, the periphery, these are your least developed countries, or the LDC countries. More people in these countries are going to be farmers. 52%, for example, of Chad's population is a farmer.
Yeah. If y'all know where Chad is, it's right here, my mouse. Hopefully you can see the mouse. It's pointing there. That's
and if you
Chad.
can't see the mouse, you're just hearing us talking about this is Chad. We're
yes.
just going to move on.
Chad is not a person, it's a place. Okay. All right. Intensive and extensive agriculture. Hopefully this is familiar to you guys. I'm going to see if I can move this away so you can read the words.
A giant E?
It's a giant E. That's what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to move this giant E this way.
Thank you.
I don't know if there's a giant E for y'all's video. Anyway, intensive and extensive agriculture. We've already talked about this, but we're going to talk about it again. Intensive, small farms, many farmers on one farm. These will be located near the city, and the production per acre is high. That means you're going to try to condense as much as you can from like your crops into one area, hoping you can maximize your profits.
Whereas your extensive farms are going to be the opposite. Large farms, few workers on one farm. Usually you're going to have a lot more technology, far from the city, and the production per acre is low. Now, your subsistence or commercial agriculture can be both intensive and or extensive.
Yes.
In themselves. That's
yes.
Interesting.
Yes. So, Dr. Scoggins,
yes.
Which picture would you say is intensive?
Intensive. I would say the picture in the center there, those are rice paddies.
Yes.
And they are small farms with many different farmers.
Yes. And that's a good point you made. A lot of people just assume because you're extensive, you have technology. If you look at this guy on the top right picture, this guy with the goats, he is an extensive farmer. Even though his technology consists of a jacket, he is still extensive because of all that land he has.
Is that really all of his land?
We don't know.
It might be.
It could be.
And then he's very wealthy.
Yeah. He could be, I don't know, Pablo Escobar's like nephew or something. He just has a bunch of money.
You're going too far with that guy.
Yes, I am.
Bid
rent theory.
This thing. And you're going to know a lot more about this in Unit 6.
Yeah, this comes up a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Bid rent theory. Really, guys, to summarize bid rent theory, the closer you are to something that's important, the more expensive it's going to be to have land there.
What's important?
What's important?
Yeah, you said something that's important.
I just said what was important.
No, you just said if something is important, then it's going to be more expensive.
So like a mall, a bank, a stadium.
The central business district.
The central business district, which we'll talk about in the next unit. Like the downtown area is usually where things are more expensive because everyone's competing to live there. So the people who own the land know they can charge a higher rent because they know you'll pay it because you want to be there.
But for agriculture, the things more specific will be your malls, your farm, your markets.
The market. Where you're going to sell your crops and buy your crops. Yes. All right. So bid rent theory. Farms closer to the city are usually going to be your intensive farms. The reason why. Land is expensive near the city, like we just talked about. Farmers won't be able to afford large farms, so they're going to have a small farm because land is expensive near the city. Farmers are going to try to maximize their profits by growing as much as possible in that small farm. Okay, that's multi-cropping and intercropping. Multi-cropping, growing multiple crops in the same field. Intercropping is like you have like crops next to each other. That way you're introducing different nutrients into the soil.
Are you telling me that Sheppard Bill from the previous slide could not be an intensive farmer?
No, he was a nomadic herder.
So, and the reason why is because of the land prices.
Yes, the land. See, where he is, the land is cheap. That's why he is not intensive. He is an extensive
And
farmer.
that's further away from the most important thing will be cheaper land.
Yes. So.
Yes. Farms far from the city will be extensive. Just what we just talked
Yes.
about. Land from the city, further from the city, is going to be cheaper. Farmers can now afford your larger farms. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Farmers are going to usually plant one crop or have, herding,
Yes,
ranching.
that's true.
These are also known as monocropping, the planting of one crop
Yes.
rather than multi-cropping.
Yes. Right. Okay. All right. And like here at the bottom, land closer to the city will be more expensive. Therefore, land being used near the city will need to make lots of money to afford it.
So much money.
So much money.
It's money.
Yes.
Money.
Okay. Monocropping and monoculture.
Yes.
Okay. I know mono confuses a lot of people. Mono just means one. Okay. Usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Monocropping, growing the same crop every year. Now, this is a problem because it causes soil depletion where the soil loses its ability to grow crops. Eventually, you're going to run into not being able to grow crops at all, and you've turned your farmland into a desert, and that's bad for everybody.
There's also a term for this we'll learn later. Desertification.
Desertification, yes.
Monoculture is growing a different crop every season. So this prevents your soil depletion. So one year you might grow corn.
Yes.
The next year will be soybeans. And then maybe another year you're doing, wheat.
Wheat, yes.
Wheat.
So, Mr. Scoggins, which picture would you say is monoculture?
Probably one on the right there,
Yeah.
Mr. Latimer.
Yes.
It's because it's multiple crops with weird arrows going around in a
Yes.
circle.
That's context clues there, kids.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
All right. So our second skill, spatial organization of agriculture.
Spatial. Space.
All right. Agribusiness.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you break that word down, we'd have agra, which usually means what?
Farming.
Yes. And business, which is about selling.
Business.
Yes. So agribusiness, it's a large company that owns many farms around the world. You might know these as Tyson Chicken, Dole Fruit Company, Sara Lee, and Kellogg's.
Sara Lee makes a really good pie.
Yes. And Dole Fruit Company did a lot of weird things in the past with owning countries. You could look it up.
Ethnic cleansing.
Yes. Banana Republics, not the clothing store, but
the clothing store. Why would you name? Okay.
That's a horrible idea. Yeah. All right. These companies are buying family-owned farms. These small family farms can't compete with the technology that these companies have, so they just kind of surrender and get bought out by these big companies like Tyson Chicken. All right. This has decreased the number of farms, but has increased the size of the farms. So these little family farms just get joined up with other family-owned farms, but all these farms are collectively owned by one of these agribusinesses. Okay.
Would this be considered an intensive or extensive agriculture?
It depends. It depends on the size of the land and the amount of technology. I would assume this would be extensive because if you're an agribusiness, you probably have the technology, and you also have the size of the land. Because if you have large farm sizes, you're probably extensive.
Agribusiness.
Yes.
Good for us.
Yes. So yeah, if you look at this picture down here, you can see all these tractors. That's probably a good sign of extensive. You also see the size of the land.
And just an unnecessary amount of tractors.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Economy of scale.
I actually enjoy this.
Yes, economy of scale. This means you have mass-produced items. Okay, and when you mass-produce something, it makes each individual item cheaper. Okay, for example, if we look at these two coffee mugs, Dr. Scoggins and I were actually at the same store. We ran into these, and we thought it was hilarious. So you have two coffee mugs. They both collectively do the same job of holding fluid. However, one is $10, the other is $32. The reason why, the coffee mug on the left was mass-produced probably in China. Mug on the right, probably made over a month in some dude's house in America.
Look, but the thing is,
Yeah.
those you're paying for just they're nonsense.
Yeah.
I mean,
And the mug on the right, if I had to bet money, I would say mug on the right collapses before mug on the left.
I would also say the mug on the. I mean, if you're want to look, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for.
I don't know.
I don't know. Like who's walking? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
But I would rather the mug on the left, also because it's a better price point.
Yeah, and also it probably would fit better into a coffee like shelf.
Well, the thing is, and how many ounces is? Not every mug is the same.
Exactly.
Size.
I would rather go for mug on the left because it's uniform. Anyway, agribusinesses can mass produce their products, which keeps the costs low. So remember, if you mass produce something, it's cheaper because you have machines making this over and over again. When you hand make something, it takes longer and it usually requires more skill to make. So that's why things end up costing more. So example, family-owned farm produce their own organic butter, which costs $13. GMO butter, wow, there's another bell.
It's unfortunate.
GMO butter at Walmart costs $3.98. So I don't know about you, Dr. Scoggins, but I'm a baller on a budget. When I'm looking to buy butter, I'm going to Walmart because that's $4 butter compared to $13 butter.
But if I'm a bizarro,
yes,
and I'm like,
and I want to know the name of the man who makes my butter, I will go.
I want to see him make the butter.
Yes.
Now here's the thing: genetically modified anything is probably not the best. GMO butter is $3.98, whereas you're paying $13, but it's organic.
Yeah.
Sure, you might get a fly in the butter. The guy's looking at you, angrily. I don't know. Maybe you make him mad. Doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, which one is better for you in the long run?
Yes.
And that's a hard thing to answer.
Because you could think health-wise, you can think financially. It really depends, what your priorities are.
Those might be the only two priorities.
Yes. Okay, you're right. Okay.
All right. Well,
so that's economy of scale. Mass-produced things are cheaper.
That was good.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Next slide. Okay. Commodity chain.
It's a chain.
Yes. We talked about this a little bit in the first lesson, but here we go again. The network of all economic activities, let me move this, related to creating a product. So the farming, the manufacturing, the distribution, the selling, and design. So how you get your sliced meat at Walmart. There's a lot of people who were involved in making it. You had the farmers who grew the grain to feed the animal that ate the grain, the farmer who raised that animal, okay, the guy who slaughtered that animal, the guy who packaged the meat, the guy who drove the truck, the guy who unloads it at the Walmart, the guy who shelves it at the Walmart, and you who then bought it. You also have the guy who designed the packaging for the box. Okay, all those people are doing the same thing. They're all working towards the same goal. They're part of the commodity chain. Okay.
I like how design is at the end.
Yeah. Well, I was going up.
I know.
Well, kids, you'll catch on later on. What I was doing here is going through the economic activities. You have the primary as the farmer. You get all the way over to the fourth level, which is design, which this will make more sense later. Products that are harder or more expensive to buy are not part of the commodity chain. So like stuff that's hard to find at Walmart, like goat cheese, that's because it's not part of a commodity chain. If you have a goat farmer, he can probably grow his own goat cheese and then sell it, but that would be like organic, which would be a little different. So not many people are involved in things. So usually things that are more expensive, they're just not part of the commodity chain. Okay. Think of a product. What resources is it made from? How was it made? How did it get to you? Who designed it? Okay. So if you can do that, you can understand a commodity chain. Okay. Next slide. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, Google.
This might have been the last.
Is it the last slide?
Of the...
Let's see. Yeah, I think that is the last slide. All right, y'all. Well, that was the end of lesson 4.
That was lesson 4.
That was lesson 4. Yes. All right. Well, we'll catch you guys again with lesson 5. Hope y'all enjoyed this. Have a great day.
Yes.